I was gonna start this video, or my idea for this video was gonna be how to solo over Me and My Uncle, which is just G and E minor. And there's some complexity to that song beyond those two chords. But then it made me start thinking about just the importance of the major scale, and then that made me start thinking about the importance of just knowing the pentatonic everywhere. And I know in all these lessons I've been talking about it over and over, but I don't know if I've ever broken down how I view the pentatonic on the fretboard and how things all fit together. So I think this is going to be, I've been trying to say in previous videos that they're short videos, this is going to be a long video, but I think it's going to be packed with information that is going to be very valuable for a lot of people, and it's the foundation of everything I do on guitar. Beyond modal playing, I think this is like important. It's the foundation of, it's just how I started to play lead and like think about guitar in general. And we can talk about chords and stuff and how they relate to what I'm going to show you later, but this is mainly just for like in a key, how to play pentatonic everywhere, and how if you're in a mode or something like the major scale, how it weaves into the pentatonic. Because when I use pentatonic, everything that I do that's outside is just a modification of it, so that I always have this lexicon that kind of works, and then I can add in different flavors as I want, depending on what the context is calling for musically. So I know that we have all seen the first position. Let's just pretend like we're in E minor, and I'm going to put a diagram up. I'm going to scoot over because there's more room for it. E minor, we're at the open kind of position. And so this is, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. We all know that scale, or if you don't, that's the very first thing you should learn. That is the first position pentatonic. It's first position, and I think about this as being, you know, an E minor kind of pentatonic area. I'm trying not to play any extra notes. Or if you're playing a G major chord, this is like the major pentatonic that works there. And even just these notes themselves, you can do some really cool licks, depending on how you phrase and what your time feel is, like this one. I'm just barring the third fret on the B and the E. You know, those types of licks, those kind of ascending or descending. That's just using pentatonic. Start there, right? Most of everybody watching this video is going to understand what I'm talking about. I think when I then talk about like the major scale or like an Ionian mode or whatever in this first position, and I'll put this up here, or it should still be the same graphic. I think I already filled in the little green dots. Those are the extra notes that kind of make, so the red was the pentatonic, the green is what makes it a major scale. Right, and that works over a G. Or E minor. Okay, that should be very basic for most people. Where I start going into territory that I've never talked about is how I start to view every single other section of the fretboard. And so I'm going to put up these diagrams one at a time with different symbols for each of the new sections. And so I'm just going to start with pentatonic because I don't want it to be too complicated. But when I talk about learning things across the fretboard or playing horizontally, right, you have this section, which is like the first section. The second section is this. And so if you don't know that, that's immediately what you should start practicing right now. And the rest of this video, these next sections, this is what you should be practicing all the time. If you're not fluent in these sections, You need to be, or else you'll never have that fluency to weave around, in my opinion. So that's the second section. And then here's the third section. And I think it's interesting that, you know, these are all the same notes in just different kind of inversions, but each one of these boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they all have slightly different sounds, right? We've heard that one a million times, but this one's a little different. And then the third one's also different. And then the fourth box. And then finally the fifth box, which kind of butts up against the beginning of the first box. Whoops. Alright, so there's all 5. I'll start on the octave up and work down. So 1. This is 5 now because there's only 5 boxes. So I start on 1 and I'm going down from the octave. So here's the 5th one. I messed that up. I haven't done this type of practice in forever, as you can tell. Okay, and then 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Learning that everywhere is one of the first things that I did when I actually started playing leads. And it allowed me, once I found a key, to be able to play all over the neck. And so you can turn that little, those linear scales that go up and down, and then you got to start learning them horizontally. Right? And once you learn them horizontally and vertically, then you can start to play diagonally. That's all pentatonic when I'm playing right there. Right? So that's already starting to sound like fluency. And so I think I just needed to get that on video at some point. I needed to show the 5 boxes and just get it into some type of crystallized form and show you how I view each box. I think each box has a different sound, you know, and different places to bend. So, all right, maybe I can go over that real quick. In box 1, I'll start at the octave because it's easier. Those are like the 3 main places I bend in the first box. And then the second box, that's kind of the only place I really do it in the pentatonic notes that I'm showing you. In the third box, and in the fourth box, and then the fifth box. I don't really bend in the fifth box that much. Maybe a little bit. And what's interesting is over time I've started to view them as kind of diagonal. So like 1 and 2 kind of blend together for me. You hear that? I'm kind of blending. I start at the beginning of 1 and kind of go diagonally to the top of 2. Right? And then same with like the 4 to 3, they kind of blend together. And they kind of start weaving together. So once you have like a good grasp on that diagonal crisscrossing pentatonic highway or web or whatever the heck you want to call it, then that's when you can start adding back in those 2 notes. So you remember in box 1 I had those 2 green notes? There's technically 3, but again the top and bottom E are the exact same. So there's 2 unique notes. Those 2 notes, I don't want to throw theory at you. Let's just start with shapes. So once you understand that the highway, you start realizing that those two kind of shapes are everywhere. Right? And that's all in just one little area right there. And so if you realize that within that box of did-doot, did-doot, there's 2 notes, then you can start putting them everywhere. Right? And then suddenly, because you already know the pentatonic highway and you know where those 2 notes go, you now have the major scale everywhere. It's really, in my opinion, that simple. The big hurdle is just practicing so you can get to that point where you have this aha. Of course, it's not going to be an aha just watching this video. You got to learn the pathways. You got to get fluent in all 5 boxes, get comfortable understanding where those 2 notes are in that pattern, understand where that pattern is, and then all of a sudden it completely opens up the fretboard. If you can tack on the cage system, which that's the whole chord thing that we haven't talked about, but if you generally get an idea of, you know, the shapes down here in the cowboy chords, like C and D and A and E, then you combine what I just taught you with caged, and you have a lot going on for guitar. The only other things you really need to add in are chromaticism and modal knowledge, and then you're basically shredding at that point. You know, of course you got to get your time feel and all that other stuff, but for like a foundational theory or toolbox for guitar playing, the only other places to go beyond that are kind of like jazz harmony and extensions and cool stuff, you know, like a tritone scale, which is cool. But like, you don't need to know that for years, because there's so much other stuff to master first. So the entire kind of fretboard, you know, I'm gonna have this diagram up here, but that is the process to understand what the heck we're looking at. You know, you got 5 boxes of pentatonic, you got 2 notes, and you can see where they kind of percolate through the web of pentatonic everywhere. And so that same philosophy works for it. Now if you have Mixolydian, which I'm not going to have a graphic up for this one, but instead of, you have, it's just, you just change 1 note, then it's the same concept. You can literally just start. And it seems very simple. You're like, oh, well, you just change 1 note, you can just start shredding immediately. Not really, because your muscle memory and the shapes of how things work with your fingers all change. And so you kind of have to learn a whole new set of licks based on those shapes. And it's a different sound. And that's what makes it exciting. You have so many, you know, in my opinion, there's like 6 usable modes. Low Korean reed, I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but just think of all the combinations of ways to play different things. There's a lot, but it's all rooted in this foundation of this pentatonic system highway. And for some reason, when I like look at diagrams online, it doesn't seem very like clear, or I can see why it's hard for somebody that's just starting out playing to understand what the heck is going on. So hopefully what I showed you makes sense. So if we bring this all the way back to, I said I was going to talk about how to solo over me and my uncle. This is how you do it. You know, it's just a G to an E minor for the main part. I mean, there's more to it, but the thing I want to talk about is this, because we're not introducing any other keys or chords or anything fancy. So I have a little loop. Here's box 1. And of course you can add in fancier notes. That's why I said there's chromaticism. We all know, or you should know, the blues note. That's how you can get some more fancy. And I can do a different video on that. But box 1. Box 2, it's hard for me not to naturally blend the two, because that's how you get a more weaving, not blocky sense of phrasing, is by weaving them together. But I'm trying to do just a box so you can hear it. Third box. Fourth box. And then fifth box. Right? It's pretty musical just by itself. And I was adding in the major scale notes here and there. But mainly I was doing the pentatonic. And so now if I start weaving, right, 1 and 2. It's already like way more sophisticated sounding just by adding in that second box with the major scale notes. And now I'm going into the third box, and I'm going to weave the third and the fourth. I just realized that it's coming through my computer speaker. Sorry, it's going to sound a little different all of a sudden. Alright, and then, yeah, your fifth box. And then this is just all of it together. That's how you can get those Dickie Betts types of runs, is by knowing where you're at through the whole fretboard. think naturally, after you kind of like get the foundational tools down, the next step should really be more about listening. So now you know that all these notes work, but where's the music? And that part can take a very, very long time to really become musical with your playing. It's not all about just learning the notes and going like, like it's not about just running the scale. It can be cool, but you gotta try to be musical. That's why I think starting with really simple chords is good. This is just 2 chords. I mean, you don't even need 2 chords. You could just do 1, 2. And you don't even need a chord. You could just play a note. Check this out. I've talked about this a couple times. I'm recording a blank loop right now, so nothing, but it's recording. And then I'm going to overdub in an E and swell it in. Whoops. Sorry. You gotta do just 1 note. I did 2 notes. Okay, now we just have a single note going. I told you this is going to be a long lesson. Hopefully this is a lot of information. We're in E. We know that scale that I just... and I'll just have it up here, I guess, the whole time. We know it works. The cool thing is, when you have a tonic like this, E, you can kind of control the vibe you want. And this is going to get more advanced, but maybe for people that want a more advanced thing, we did the foundational stuff. Now here's something that's more advanced. When you have that pentatonic weaving thing, the highway that I showed you, when you center it around E minor, it has a very minor sound. And I can even get Dorian with it. Don't worry if you don't understand all this, we can talk about it some other time. But I just want to show you that this is a way to find the music without getting bogged down with the chord progression. Try to find the music with the scale. These are all the same notes that I had up on the screen. Now check this out. If I get rid of the E and I do a G instead, still it's going to be the exact same notes in the scale that I have up, but the feel is going to be very different. This could be a good way to understand modes or how modes work, right? When we were in E, it sounded very, very dark, very minor, but when you do it over G, it's a much brighter sound. So this would be the most distilled kind of example of me and my uncle using this same scale, where, you know, you're not thinking about running the, because there's no real rhythm anymore. You can just focus on finding these cool pathways with that scale. I think that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. This is a big one. So if you have any questions, let me know. I think this is going to help a lot of people. Good luck.